Hi, I'm Rachel Crispin. I'm going to talk to you about class action lawsuits. It's got nothing to do with them, but they're adorable, right? That's from last year. Okay, so class action lawsuits. I have worked in the class action claims administration field for about 10 years, and so that's where I'm pulling sort of my knowledge here. So we're going to ask what is a class action lawsuit and who are the players and give you some examples and then talk about the money, which is the fun part. So a class action lawsuit is a lawsuit that usually affects a large group of similarly situated people. It can be a large group actually or really small. There have been like 2 people sometimes. The idea is that you can solve an issue more efficiently with one lawsuit rather than a bunch. You have a settlement that gets reached. So we have allegations of wrongdoing. We never say that something was proven wrong. It's an alleged wrongdoing, which means the defendant's not guilty or innocent. The defendant just settled. And then we have a class period. It's usually sometime in the more recent past, 10, 15 years, sometimes 1 month. It just depends on the case. And that's when the alleged wrongdoing took place. And this is the time. There we go. So the players. We've got number 1, the defendant. The defendant is a company or a person who allegedly did what was wrong. They, again, never admit that they did it wrong, but you have your own opinions when you start to see a lot of them. But then we have the representative plaintiffs and the class members. The representative plaintiffs are the individual people who started the lawsuit, usually 2 to 5 people. The class members are the larger body of people that are affected by the allegations in the class. And then we have the judge or the court that is in charge of overseeing everything, making sure that the proposed settlement is fair, reasonable, and adequate, and the attorneys who are responsible for drawing up a settlement that's going to actually benefit both the defendant and the class members in the best way. And then you have the administrator. I like the administrator because I'm the administrator. They're responsible for notifying class members, processing claims, ultimately mailing checks. If you get a postcard in the mail or an email, it came from us, please read it. Can help you out. All right, so here's some examples. There are 4 main types. Consumer liability is the first one. Here's an example. There's a Toyota economic loss settlement. So we've got the defendant is Toyota. We've got the class, which is anybody that owned a vehicle during a certain time frame. The allegation is that the vehicle is not as valuable as it used to be because there's a problem with it. And then the benefit depends on when you own the vehicle. If you sold it, if you still own it, you could get $9 all the way up to thousands of dollars. This is a real settlement. It's over now. I'm sorry, guys. It's too late. But there's the Bank of America settlement, which is an example of a wage and hour case or employment case. So the defendant is Bank of America. Your class are certain employees of that defendant. In this case, they were a call center. Allegation is that they were made to work off the clock. Sometimes you see allegations of overtime. They didn't pay you overtime properly. And then you get an equal portion of the settlement fund, $73 million, which is actually not as much as it sounds when you get a lot of people in the class. And then securities, essentially stock market fraud. So there's Pfizer, another big name is Enron. So the defendant would be that company that sells the stock. The class is going to be anyone that purchased the stock during the time period. The allegation is that the defendant artificially inflated the price of its stock by saying that it was more valuable than it actually was, driving up the market, and that meant that the stockholders lost money. And the benefit is that they get a proportionate amount of what they allegedly lost. We love that word allegedly. It's like our favorite word. Antitrust. This is my favorite because it's what I've worked in for about 10 years. So it's when you get multiple defendants together that all allegedly fix the price on a certain product. So it's anti-competitive. So in this case, optical disc drive settlement, you've got multiple defendants, and the class is anybody that purchased the ODD or optical disc drive products, PlayStation, for example, Blu-ray player. And you can get a cash payment proportionate to the amount that you allegedly lost, which would be the amount that you were overcharged for the actual product. So here's an example of money. You've got a $10 million settlement fund. $20,000 of that goes to the representative plaintiffs. $2.5 million, usually 25 to 30% goes to the attorneys, I know. Plus they get their out-of-pocket costs over and above that, and then there's the cost of administrating the settlement, the notice, the claims, and all that. So what's left out of $10 million is $6.9 million that goes to the class, and they get a portion of that depending on how it's going to be split up. So is it worth your time? Yes. It really is. It really is. Think about it this way. It usually takes between 3 to 5 minutes to file a claim. They can usually be filed online. They usually don't require documentation. They usually pay between $5 and $25 for small ones, sometimes thousands. That's like a cup of coffee. So like 3 minutes for a cup of coffee.